an honor to welcome Dr. Julian E. White, retired Distinguished Professor of Music, Director of Bands, and Chairman of the Music Department at Florida A&M University Bands. Dr. White has been involved in the band world for over 58 years. He was an accomplished director at Raines High School in Jacksonville, Florida, prior to accepting the position of Assistant Director of Bands at Florida A&M University in 1974. And I was there, so we brought him over well. His responsibilities included writing drills, conducting the daily band operations, teaching flute studies, conducting instrumental method classes. And in 1998, a little earlier than that, but 1998 confirmed, Dr. White was officially appointed as Director of Bands. This former drum major, if you didn't know, and confidant of Dr. Foster, turned down many offers because of his commitment to his alma mater and, of course, his Lord, Dr. Foster. In my opinion, he is still, without a doubt, a valuable resource for bands and directors who want to achieve great things in their programs. I hold him in high esteem, and I think you can learn a whole lot from him. It's my privilege to welcome Dr. White to our session.
Thank you so much, Mr. McCloud. And let me first of all say that I am indeed honored, ladies and gentlemen, to have this brief discourse with you regarding the kind of concept that it takes in order to effectively run a band. So with that being said, Mr. McCloud, will you go ahead and start with the first question?
The first question, Dr. White, is because of the COVID-19 virus, band directors are relegated to staying at home. What would you suggest directors do to reinforce their professional development, and what approach should they take to retain returning members and to recruit new members? Since your retirement, how have you kept busy, and what is different about HBCU bands, both marching and music, as you see it today?
Okay, thank you very much, McCloud. First of all, let me say this. Remember, don't practice until you get it right. Practice until you can't get it wrong. Don't practice until you get it right, but until you cannot play it wrong. And the next point I want to make is the band must look and sound good. Now, the first thing I would say regarding the fact that we must spend a lot of time, most of our time at home, is to take advantage of that and to spend quality time with your parent, with your family, because as we know, when we're in band rehearsal all day and in classes all day, that our parents, our students, and our families take a great deal of pride in the fact that they're working hard, but their families understand. So let that be the first thing that you do. Now, moving on with the question. First of all, HBCU bands. What is the difference that I see now in HBCU bands of the past? The first thing, I think it's so so important and so impressive, I should say, that HBCU bands have improved over the years. The main thing is that they have good equipment. They have nice band uniforms. They have nice rehearsal facilities for the most part. And so over the years, they have really improved a great deal. My biggest comment, a helpful hint that I would give to HBCU bands is that we need to spend more time with our characteristic tone quality, intonation, articulation, blend, balance, and phrasing. Because, and I'm just going to be very frank with you, ladies and gentlemen, I think that many HBCU bands play out of tune and they play too loud. I've heard this term cranking, and I think that it has been detrimental to the overall quality of the band, because instead of playing with good fundamentals, they're spending so much time trying to see who's playing the loudest. And so that I would recommend that HBCU band directors, that they spend a lot of time warming up, tuning, singing chorales, playing exercises, and yes. So even though I realize that you are high school band directors, you pattern yourselves after HBCU bands in your community. So that would be the one thing that I would suggest, and that's my impression of HBCU bands today. And now, one thing I want to make mention to you too is that I firmly believe that the whole truth, nothing but the truth, and every aspect of the truth deals with what is the score. And I have this term, artistic excellence and a musical performance equals H to the full power. That artistic excellence, H to the full power. Tone quality in the head, hearing, hands, and heart. The head in terms of getting the students and yourself mentally prepared for performance. Thinking about the kinds of things you need to do and shaping your attitude and the students of the attitude toward perfection in the marching band rehearsal. Hearing, I said artistic excellence equals the head, hearing, hands, and heart. With hearing, we need to develop the musical ear by listening to excellent band recordings and even listening to operas because we want to develop the singing tone quality in our bands. And I'm saying these things briefly because we don't have a lot of time. The next concept in the artistic excellence, the head, hearing, the hands. We need to spend a great deal of time just making sure that the students can in fact play the parts and they can play the music. And that takes a great deal of rehearsal time, but in the long run it pays off. Playing scales, playing chords, playing arpeggios, using music as band music as a course of study. And then finally the heart. When we think of praising, of sentences, musical sentences, we try to get the students to play with good phrases and to play with good tone quality. And I call it just playing from the heart. You know, you play from the head, the hearing, the hands, but the heart, I think, is what we're trying to get the students, get instilled into the students, that they really feel the emotional impact of the music and play accordingly. So that's my section on playing on what's the score. The next thing has to do with the three aspects, and this question may take a little bit longer than the others because of the technicalities and the extent of the question. The 3 M's of musical conducting. First of all, the mental. We think that conducting is the culmination of all musical study. I think I need to hold my son back from practicing because Julian, Denise, tell Julian to hold up the playing. I am proud of the fact that he wants to practice during this time. They have off from school, but I don't want to interfere with what we're saying. But the mental, listening to good music, preparing the history of the music, the key signature, time signature, the public school music, and psychology of music. And number 2 is the musical. Study the score. Listen to orchestral performance and listen to band recording because that helps you to improve your overall playing ability. And then finally, the baton. And the baton technique, making sure that you're given the correct beats and the students can properly form you. Now, as we continue on with the score, I'll say this. What can you do while you're at home? Study scores. Listen very close to our different interpretations. Study the music that you plan on playing this year with your marching band and your symphonic bands, even though we're not aware what the future marching band is for this year. But just assume that once school starts, it's going to be back in session. So study the music that you're going to play and then study classical music. I would suggest that everybody study Persicetti's, not Persicetti's, but Persigrange's, let me get to the right place here. Lancashire posing. Once you can learn Lancashire posing, it gives you a good background to study some of the other classical band pieces. So those are my concepts for what you can do while you're at home. And the next question, please.
Okay, question number 2. Thank you so much, Dr. White, for question number 1. I know you got a great trumpet player in there. We'll talk about him a little later.
Yes.
While you have taught at the high school level, you manage the largest band camp and university band programs among all HBCUs. What advice can you give to band directors on how to manage large bands, and if anything, would differ in managing smaller ones? And then added to that, how does technology, changing demographics and politics change the approach of music education?
Very good. Let me go back to the first question quickly, though. How do you go about recruiting and retaining present and new band members? While your students are home now, give them playing assignments. Have them to play scales. Have them to play the music that you were playing before the virus started. You couldn't go to school, but keep them out with technology. That's one thing about technology that I strongly believe in, that you can have your students to play exercises, play skill studies, play technical studies. During this time, you can have students audition for section leaders, audition for drum majors, and a drum major should be a musician first. And so spend a lot of time during this period using the technology to communicate with your bands and also to communicate with your band students. And the same thing applies to with communicating and recruiting new band members. Communicate with the band directors, communicate with the students, and communicate with the parents. That gets you prepared to receive new students into your band program. Now, regarding the major band program, the size of the bands and the summer band camps, let me first of all say that I don't think that there are major differences between recruiting band members and retaining them. And I don't think that there's a big difference between the size of bands and the operation. It all has to do with the fact that you retain the students by working with them and by communicating, by very special organization and having a plan. I had a plan that I wanted to go over, but since I don't have the visual aspect, I'm going to put it to the side and I'm going to send it to Mr. McCloud. Everything we're talking here now, I'm sure Mr. McCloud would not mind sending it to you. But use this period to, number one, recruit by communicating with your band, your future band students, giving them auditions, letting them know what the playing requirements are to be in their bands, and then communicating with the band director, because that person can assist you with getting the students properly prepared to be in your band, and also to communicate with your parents. With regard to technology, well, I think with programs such as Powwell, the other music finale, and there's just a number of band programs that you can use to write drills, that you can use to write music, that you can use in the classroom. I saw that was in one band rehearsing, and so that the band director was using a program wherein he could record the students while they're playing, and then go home and listen to them, and come back and play it back and give the students suggestions as to how they can improve. So my suggestion with technology is just to read, search, and try to be aware of the latest trends in musical technology. Okay, I think that would be that question, and you will please continue.
Okay, question number 3. Your band drills for the FAMU bands are legendary. You created animated floating designs and pictures that appeared real on the field. Your innovative approach captured the hearts and minds of countless audiences. What was your favorite drill design, and what advice would you give to directors on how to approach and create a drill?
Well, first of all, the drill that I liked the most, that I considered one of the most outstanding that I presented, was the Star Wars shows. I don't know if any of you remember Star Wars show. I don't know if you were still here, Mr. McCloud, when we did that. But the Star Wars show consisted of making a spectacular instruments and then playing with the 20th century fanfare, marching downfield and opening the company fronts, then doing a squad drill with the crosses in the middle and 4 crosses on each end. I was able to do a step 2, and it really created an outstanding visual presentation. Then we came back to the 2 circles, and we formed the circles to come together with the 2 circles, and then formed a spiral. And I haven't seen any band do that spiral yet, but the spiral wherein would wind for 32 counts and then turn around and rewind for the other 32 counts. Then we took the circle, we returned to the circles, the 2 circles, and they had 1 circle to spell out to make star, and the other circle to make wars. And I really enjoyed that. And the audience had a great deal to enjoy that also. But just in relevance, I think, is the key to selected drills and formation. I look, believe it or not, sometimes I go to church and I look at stained glass windows. I say, wow, that would really make a good design. I might walk down the hall and see some designs on a rug. I say that would be good. I listen for popular music and make decisions on having the music written, and then making assignments of parts and creating a drill from the popular music. You can use drills. They have an election coming up, and you could spell out the November, whatever the date is, and spell out and vote on that particular occasion. So just the fact that you are looking for, you're always looking for patterns. And I'll say this, relevance is the key. I'm not, the kind of drills that I do, I don't like the abstract drills. And that's just personal with me. I don't criticize those that do, but I like to do drills that the audience can identify with, hearts and diamonds and squares and those kind of things. Art, but centered on the 50-yard line. I know that many bands do that, but I've heard parents to say, my goodness, what are they doing on the field? Why don't they do something that would be more relevant? So I would say be very careful with the kind of drills that you use, and use a variety of drills. And those drills I'd like to give to you: block band drills, squad drills, circle drills, picture formations, and then animated picture formations. I mentioned circle drills. All of those, they really give a variety in what you do. Step 2 drills that ends up in diamonds and rectangles and squares and those kind of things. So just be creative. Go beyond the regular formations that maybe you, and then ask your students. I don't know how many of you have student committees that make dance routines that help you in selecting music for drills and formations that you kind of think of, and dance routines. But I'll say this, that be very careful. Make sure that you're aware of the kind of music and the kind of the drills that they're doing. I remember one time we did a nice drill, and the title of the music was "Put It in Your Mouth." I don't know if you remember that song or not. And I didn't realize what they were doing, really. I didn't realize the quality, and it didn't really fit community standards. So they got that one by me, and of course, I accepted the criticism and made sure that nothing like that happens again. But creativity is the key to the kind of things that you want to do to make your bands look good and sound good. The beginning of this, I said the band must look good and the band must sound good. But I think that would be the answer to that particular question.
Well, I have some favorites too of yours. 83 was pretty good, but I thought one that a lot of people didn't see was when you took part of the drill into a dance routine, and you did MC Hammer, and you made a hammer.
Yes,
and,
yes.
And you got the bass drum to animate the hammer. So I thought that was pretty unique and pretty good too. But anyway, I'll move on to the last question.
One more thing, Mr. McCloud. I'm on my table now, and I'm actually writing a book, Contemporary Marching Band Concept, and it's really an encyclopedia of drills and formations and dance routine. And I'm looking at it now, and I would estimate that I have about 1,000 different sheets. I didn't realize that I had written so many sheets of drill and formations, indicating probably about over 200 or 300 shows that I've given over the years. And I look at it with great pride, and I'm putting the book together, and I encourage you to get the book. I think you'll find some good ideas in that book. What was the last question, Mr. McCloud?
Okay, the last question. You ready? Okay, you've been directly responsible for developing fundamentally strong musicians and with incredible technique. And I point to the trumpet player in the house. Your recent creation is a 10th grade trumpet player who has built quite a resume in Florida and in Texas. A lot of people don't know that your son is a 10th grader, and he was first chair the last 2 years in the Texas University of Texas summer band camp, and he goes to that great Leon school where they got a tremendously good program. What methods and studies would you recommend to directors to enhance the overall musicality of their bands and individual students?
I think that's a very, very good question. And the answer to that, first of all, I was very proud of my son that he was able to do well at the Texas Band Festival and at All State, and also in the band at Leon High School. The key to it is teaching concepts, a band lesson plan. And I have developed a lesson plan that goes, it's over the years that has helped to produce very fine players. And Mr. Lord, I can talk about you because you came to the band program, and I know just what you know, and I'm sure that other band directors on this call can attest to the same thing. But I think that the role in basic performance fundamentals, and I mentioned that a great deal, tone quality, intonation, articulation, phasing, blend and balance. And those things, I think that if you look for literature, now I have a list of books that I use, and I like to say that the book covers have changed, but the content is not. They have the nice, beautiful book covers, but the concepts have not changed. The Auburn book, Class A studies, Universal Saxophone book, the Charlier studies, and all the others gives a basic background, and it helps to build musicality in our students. The books that I recommend, and again, I'm going to send this to Mr. Linard McCloud, for rhythm, the 150 original exercises. Those are very good. They're very good. Just simply for yes, they're very good in terms of making sure that the students get good instruction in technical facility. The 127 original exercises also very good for teaching rhythmic concepts. The 40 rhythmical studies for band are also good for teaching rhythm and articulation. Then there are technique study books such as the 25 Lazarus studies. You know, the Lazarus studies, the Lazarus method book for band for clarinet is a standard that just like the Class A book. And the 29 Chantel studies by McNeil. All of those, I would suggest, if you don't have them, get them. The unison scales and chords. If I could see you, I would ask, how many of you know about the unison scales and chords? Just give a big yes if you use them. How many of you have used the unison scales and chords?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, you know, we had a challenge, you and Burke.
Yeah. So the unison scales and chords, very good book. It starts in part one. It gives you the basic studies of scales, arpeggios, chromatic scales, and then part two becomes more advanced. And I would strongly suggest that you get that book because it really helps you with developing good technical facility, good tone quality, sight reading, good blending balance, ensemble blended balance in your band. So get those books. For technique studies, I recommend the 25 Dazzle Studies and the 29 Chantel Studies. Scale studies, the scale etudes, the unison scale and course part 2, and the dailies for woodwind and brass by Gonzone and Musser. Those are excellent books for building the kind of technique that you want to have. You mentioned the kind of things that you do in order to improve the band. And you know, when you go into musical learning, there are things that must be taught. They're few in numbers, but of unlimited depth so that they can be developed over a period of years. And so we think about those things. Those basic fundamentals are generally classified as tone production, ear training, technical facility, and sight reading. Now, each of those are independent of others. Yet, if you have a deficiency in one, you're going to have deficiency in the other. So they're separate, but at the same time, closely related. And those fundamental concepts should be a part of your daily rehearsal. You know, we stop to think about, well, we have so much to do. We've got a halftime show to present this week. We have to play in chapel. We have to march in a parade. But make sure that you spend time on the performance fundamentals. I know when in fact, in the FAMU band and in my high school band, the students will sometimes complain and say that, well, Todd, we do so much skills and techniques, we don't have enough time on the field. Well, I think that that's a question that is somewhat not good, because when you spend the time on the benches or in the band room working on performance fundamentals, it has great carryover to the marching band and to the concert band. And I can't emphasize enough tone quality. I mentioned that we have bands that really just trying to play each other, play louder than the other. But the thing of it is that the reality is that you want to develop tone quality, and you develop those tone qualities, even in the marching band, just as you do with the symphonic band. You're sitting down playing scales, playing chords, playing chorales. Do that same thing with your marching band. Play chorales, sing chorales. You know, the instrument is an extension of the human voice. And when you can sing through, I always like to say, if you can sing it, you can play it. If you can't sing it, you can't play it. And when you're studying the scores, go in and see if you can get all the aspects of the fundamental concept of the score. I mentioned the Saturday Lake and Sharp Posey, the form of the piece, the history of the piece, the ability to hear with your eyes and to see with your ears. And so those kind of things help you to develop the basic tone quality. And next, the intonation. My goodness, that is so important. You've got to spend time working on intonation. And when I was in high school and in college, I required each person to have a portable tuner on their cell phone. Well, everybody has a cell phone, and on cell phones, I think you can get those musical kind of tone study and also tuning exercises, and spend time tuning. I mentioned that during this period, you can have auditions or student leaderships. Well, rather than going straight to the field, spend some time on benches. I don't know if they have any benches. We were fortunate enough to have benches on the band drill field so that we could do properly warm up and tuning. And so spend some time, have the students to tune their sections. You tune the band, and be very careful too. Even though students are very helpful, you can't put the responsibility on the student for maintaining performance fundamentals. That is, tuning the band, working on precision, technical passages, phrasing, and ensemble blended balance. But spend a great time with that, with tuning, because it makes a difference. And then how do you actually tune the band? I would say with the clarinets, don't just tune a concert B flat. It would be better to tune the open G, going from a D, E, F sharp, G, playing up to that, and that helps you to get a good tone, good tone with the band, and adjusting the barrel. Tune that G with the barrel, tune the concert B flat, the middle C from the middle C on the instrument, and then the low C, the shallow middle C, playing that with same thing, playing up to that D, E, F sharp, G. And each one of the instruments have particular idiosyncrasies as to how they tune. I have a tuning guide. I studied arranging and fundamentals with Mark Heinzler, on director of the University of Illinois Band. And he has a set of tuning guides. Mr. McCloud, if you don't mind, I'll send you those.
Okay.
So you can send them out. But they're excellent for tuning the band. So make sure, spend the time, group. I can't emphasize enough. When I say the band must look good and sound good, I even think the band has to sound good before it looks good. And if you can spend the time working on that basic tone quality. The next aspect of the performance fundamentals I like to mention has to do with the technical facility. But first of all, remembering what kind of things improve the pitch of the band. Tuning to A440, the armature, and the instrument angle. Making sure that, clarinet can't play like a trumpet. And also check fingerings for woodwinds. Sometimes coming from middle schools, the directors may not have spent enough time on finger and hand position. So when they come to you, make sure that you make that a part of what you do in daily rehearsal to ensure that they have the same proper armature. I've seen students come to college playing instruments with the tongues puffed out, on flutes, tonguing from the throat. Look at your flutes, tonguing from the throat rather than the tongue to the top of the roof of their mouth. Check those kinds of things. Check having the students play with good breath support. I like to call it diaphragmatic tonal resonance, wherein they play from the diaphragm. And in that way, they build that kind of breath support. We hear the directors, not directors, but adjudicators saying, let's work on good breath support. Well, that diaphragmatic tonal resonance pays off. And, these kind of things that I'm listening kind of cause to say doubt, to say that can't be done. And they can be. The fact that you are organized. I mentioned the band lesson plan. In that lesson plan, I have every day of the year, of the school year, from the first day to the last year, outline as to what we're going to play in terms of marching concert band, what we're going to play in terms of the symphonic band. And one thing with the symphonic band, require all of the students to play a solo or an ensemble. Some of the better students can play the solos, but everybody can play in an ensemble. For beginners, maybe those that are on level 2 or 3, select music they can play and play it at music performance evaluations. In that way, they get a chance to play independently. In the band music, in the band, they can lean on others in order to play. But making sure that they play in ensembles. And another part of the story is singing. And I don't know, I hope that you spend a great deal of time singing as well as playing, because I think I mentioned that the instrument is an extension of the human voice. And you want to teach the band to play with that singing tone. And so have them, when you analyze the score, have them to play parts, have them sing the parts, because that teaches them the importance of structure to the overall, each note in the chords. So make sure that you do a great deal of singing and playing long tones. And then I don't know if you're familiar with the scale etudes. And please write this down if you can. The scale etudes, very good numbers, very good books for improving scale study, for improving tone quality. And I think that really literature, the study of band literature, technical studies is so important. The books that I'm using are rather old, but they're in print. And I think that, they may be they're very good in terms of developing the overall band member. Another excellent book, I don't know if you plan them or not, 16 bar chorales. If you don't have them, get them. And Treasure Scale, Linard B. Smith, Treasure Scale. Get those books, folks, and spend some time. See, one thing, too, when I get so excited, you have to be a kind of band fanatic. I do two things. I spend time with my family, and I think one of the questions that was asked, what do I do in my spare time? Well, in my spare time, I still study scores. I do quite a bit of guest conducting. In fact, I was so fortunate a few weeks ago to conduct the United States Air Force Band. And you can imagine what a thrill that was. But you have to be the kind of person that's always seeking to find answers and to find ways to develop a better band. And folks, I can't emphasize enough. Sometimes you become so enamored, you want to have that actually halftime show. So you do things that may be, I don't want to say unorthodox, but you do things in terms of if you have a 40-piece band, a 40-piece band can play in tune. A 40-piece band can play with good intonation. A 40-piece band can play with good tone quality and good technical facility. A 40-piece band can have straight lines. And you say, you're dealing with a number of things. You're dealing with the fact that many students can't take band classes, or they have to leave, they have to go to work. But in some way, you're going to have to corral those students and pull them in so that they get exposed to good performance fundamentals. And the same thing has to do with rhythmic accuracy. I mentioned that, then I'm going to start with some more questions. Rhythmic accuracy, the execution of rhythmic patterns is a conditioned response to a metrical arrangement of notes. That is to say, sight reading consists of memorizing rhythmic patterns. And so if you expect students to you go into a sight reading room, sometimes when you walk in that sight reading room, your life flashes in front of you because you just don't know what's going to happen when you go inside this room. But just developing rhythmic accuracy, analyzing rhythm, making sure that they can transfer learning from the book to the particular piece that they're working on inside me. So I'm going to stop for a few minutes because I've been talking so much, and you may have some questions you'll have to ask. I'll open the floor now for any questions that may be want to look for answers.
Okay, anybody want to ask Dr. White some questions? I know. I see Bruce and Jennifer on there. They're upset with you about that, about sitting on that bench you were talking about, but they won't say anything about that.
Yes. Well, I'm going to continue then, and maybe there may be
somebody has a question, I think. Just
okay.
Identify yourself and ask your question. Zach?
Oh, I ain't got no questions. I'm listening to you, Doc.
Okay. Anybody else?
I have a question, Doc. This is Ernest Stackhouse. I followed you for a long time, and I am, I guess, a fan of history. How was it? How was it working with Dr. Foster, and what was his approach to rehearsal like?
Very good question. First of all, it was an honor for me to have had the opportunity to work with Dr. Foster. because I first met him when I was in about ninth or 10th grade, and he was conducting all kind of bands. And first of all, I had to try to understand what he was saying because he used such articulate voice and words that you almost had to go to the dictionary to understand what he's saying. So, with that too, I learned so much about musicality. When I came to Florida A&M, I was lucky enough to have played in a very good high school band, a New Sampson High School band, and it was an extension of what I had done in working with my high school band director, Ms. Kennedy McCloud. Dr. Foster was very concerned, and he always emphasized, and that's why you sent me many things, because that was passed on to me. I was fortunate enough to start with Dr. Foster, William Mavelli, Mark Hines, John Painter, Fred Evans, those guys. I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to study with them. And so working with him and just learning, I think that I have to say that I learned so much from Dr. Foster. And I was assistant band director for 25 years. And so by the time I took over, I think I had Doc down pretty bad. He was a sticker for playing in tune, playing with good ensemble blending balance, playing with good phrasing, and playing with good technical ability. Guys, we spend a whole rehearsal working on 4 notes. He said play so, and he had this phrase D, 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 and we spend an hour working on 4 notes. Now you might say, "My goodness, that's too long." But when we finish playing those notes, we have transfer of learning. You could hear so much of a difference in the quality of the band sound, and so it was just an honor working with Dr. Foster. It was a very, very special privilege for me to do so.
Okay, anybody else? Dr. White is so kind, but Dr. Foster was affectionately called the slave driver, and Dr. White was affectionately called slave driver number 2.
Well, folks used to say that I was a slave driver, and they said that God, was just unmerciful. But I always felt like, and I feel that it takes that kind of dedication. If you can prepare your students, and if you can, motivation, that's one thing that you really, really need to have in order to be effective, to motivate your students to achieve the best. And so even though they may say that you're a slave driver, in the long run, they appreciate what you're doing because the goal of the student in the band is to, of course, play with good tone quality, good technical facility, and those kind of things. So I would say, even though I was being the slave driver, that slavery was given toward being having a good band with good tone quality and performance fundamentals. And in the long run, folks would say, well, yes, he worked real hard, but I was so proud when we were on the field and we were able to sound so well and to play so well. So, yes, the rehearsal was very difficult. It was very intense, but the students received a great deal of pride in the fact they played with excellent performances.
Any questions?
What is a typical rehearsal situation like when preparing the Marching 100?
Okay, again, very, very good question. Our rehearsal started at 3:35, and they had to be in their seats with their instruments ready to play. If a student came late, he had to run some laps. He had to do some push-ups, or some jumping jacks. But be very careful now. It's a different day and age that you don't overemphasize that exercise, punishment by exercise, because unfortunately, I have students that passed away. And the fact it was Mr. McCloud's student. What was the name?
Tiffany.
McCloud.
Tiffany.
Tiffany. And she worked so hard. It was in the sun, and that's something I'll never forget. But she passed out, and she never retained her consciousness. But if you use the Formula 2 that we have, 45-15, 45 minutes of practicing on the field, 15 minutes for water, breath, and go in the shade. So that get us to rehearsal at 3:35 was very important. And then we spent about 30 minutes playing warm-ups. The unison scales and chords, part 2, the scale A2s, we had warm-up exercises that Mr. Sargent built, the E-flat warm-up. We played Blessed Are They That Mourn from the German Requiem by Johannes Brahms. We played Total Praise and had the band to sing it because, as I mentioned, singing is an excellent way to develop excellent tone quality. So we spent about 15 to 20 minutes working on tone quality, and so then by that time it was about 4:30, and rehearsal lasted to 4:45. Even though sometimes I had a tendency to go a little bit longer, but I had good relationships with the cafeteria, and I'd send word up to Miss Rankin, let them know we're going to be a few minutes late to dine, to get those last few minutes in. But then we go to the field, and we work on marching. Now, here's another thing, too. I hope that you use a marked-off field, because you're not going to get any straight lines, if you don't have a marked-off field. You have good relationships with your custodian, with your principal, with your head coach. Don't fight these guys, or even with city officials, because they'll come out and mark that field off for you, and you need to have a good field. So we will spend about 15 minutes working on marching and playing. Instrument swing, knee lift. If you use that, use thighs parallel. Now, if you use a glide step, a roll step. But working march, we worked out march down the field, playing a B-flat concert scale, starting off in the five notes, 4 notes every 5 yards. I'm marching 8 to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2. And when I say 8, I mean you're hitting the yard line. On 4, you're halfway. On 8 o'clock, you're on the yard line. And very important, when you're standing on the line, make sure this. When you're standing on the line, make sure that yard line divides both feet in half. Feet in half when you hit the yard line. And because if you think about it, if one person toe hits the line, the other person hits the line, and the other heel touches the line, that's going to give a crooked line. So, marching down the field, B-flat concert scale, folks. Again, you got to stick to it. You got to be a band for that. When you walk in that rehearsal, you got to be a band for that. You got to, you got to just go in with the intention of knowing what you're going to do. And so you take that B-flat concert scale. The next week, do the E-flat concert scale. Marching up and down the field. Instrument swing, high knee lift, precision, straight lines. And so throughout the course of a semester, you have played all of your major scales because you learn a new scale a week. You see, one thing too, with band students, you've got to motivate them. You've got to motivate them to learn. And they get in the band, you think they get into this couch. It may be 40% of them will. The rest of them be in there because they want to be with their friends, they want to travel, they want to put on those band uniforms. And so that's why they're there. But take advantage of that and have them to play that B-flat concert scale, E-flat concert scale. And then as you move into it, have the clarinet, check the fingers, because they're going to be crossing over the break, and some of them not going to be using the fourth F flat, the fourth F or the fourth B-flat fingering, and the horns are not going to play on the double side of the horn. They're going to play on B-flat horn all the time. And so you've got to be on the alert for that kind of thing. But when you're marching up and down the field, you're building a straight line and you're building that diaphragmatic tone resonance. Folks, it works. I'll tell you that. Try it. Marching 8 to 5, playing B-flat concert scale. let have them to breathe the from the diaphragm, give the diaphragmatic tone of resonance. And that's going to improve the sound a great deal. Then we go to the show. We start on the show on Monday, and we are doing the drill, we're doing whatever the case may be, and we have the students go on the field, give charts. Every band member as to what you're going to do, and you can be preparing those charts now while you have some time you can't go to work, but prepare charts and have some during your pre-drill period. Teach the students how to read the charts, and that can save a great deal of time in rehearsal. We talk about what they can do in terms of how technical facility has an effect on the band. It's Florida A&M now. They have a gentleman who's writing drills, and they learn drills from a cell phone. Now, I can't do that yet. I kept up with up to a point where I could write drills, but it's changed so much now, and probably you all are much further ahead than I am in technical facility and technology. But if you're not, get it, because it can save a great deal of time in terms of learning the show. So we practice on the show, taking the first 16 counts, working that until they know it, add 16, 32 until they know it. During the show, emphasize the performance fundamentals, the instrument swing, the knee lift, if you're using that, the 8-5, and the marching and playing. When you do that 8-5 marching exercise, you're also building good tone quality. So, sir, we spend about 15 minutes working on that. If we're doing a dance routine, we'll spend another 15 minutes working on it, or we'll extend that until 30 minutes. Then by Thursday, we have a showdown, and we'll simply practicing on sequence. We call it run the sequence. And you just work on that from beginning to end, no stops, because you worked on it and you've got the show in place. We do that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday is dress rehearsal. Saturday is performance time. So that's our approach to our rehearsal. A 90-minute rehearsal, sometimes a little bit more, never a little bit less, but that produces excellent performances. Very good question.
Well, Doc, as we near the end, we certainly want to thank you so much for your expertise and for giving us all this valuable information. And I want to thank Ernest for being the person to do this work. You know, I wanted to do this, and we talked about doing it together. And I want everybody to know that this is not just the first. We want to do at least every week or bi-weekly. We have a good slate of people coming. Just to mention a few, Dr. Wells, Lindsay Sargent. So we have some more people coming forward, and so we hope that you all will enjoy that. But we certainly appreciate you, Dr. White, for all the work that you've done and just giving us all this valuable information. Thank you too, Stackhouse.
Yes, sir. And let me say in closing is that you've got to really be, I like to say, a band fanatic, but you really have to just dedicate your time to your family and to the band, because these fundamentals that I mentioned to you, they pay off, and I'm just a strong advocate of all of it. I'll just make sure that you spend a lot of time in preparation for the band, study the score, make sure that you do those things, study the score for the future. And again, I could go on and on, but I don't want to be redundant.
Thank you all for joining us today. Once again, this is sponsored and facilitated by AMMEA, the Advocates for Music and Music Education Association, where our mission is to cultivate, support, and enhance music and music education in the state of South Carolina specifically, but through fostering academic partnerships, professional learning opportunities, and resources for classrooms. And we really feel that Dr. White has contributed to this mission a great deal today. And we want to thank you, Doc, for getting on with us and contributing so much to our music educators nationwide, and also in the state of South Carolina. And also, Mr. McCloud, we appreciate your contributions, your continued contributions to music education in the state of South Carolina. and throughout the country through your students. If there,
my pleasure, Stackhouse.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. If anyone else does not have anything to say, we will go ahead and adjourn this session. Like Mr. McCloud said, this will be hopefully a weekly adventure where we're going to get some music educators of profound stature to come on with us and talk about their thing, their specialty, and hopefully we can learn a little bit during this time, during this COVID-19 virus pandemic. Everyone's wasting time here at home, but hopefully we can get a little something. Thank you all for coming on, and I appreciate you. Thank you, Doc.
Yes, sir. My pleasure, sir.